This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for the Bully Blog Podcast. And the Bully Blog Podcast came out of a need from the movie The Reunion Film. And Dave, I have to tell you that I'm so excited about what is coming up that every time you post something, I have to resend it out. So give us a little background. What has happened in the last couple of months since we last spoke?
Yeah, and thank you. Sometimes I see your messages, and I think you put something like it's a must see. So I've read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, a lot of good stuff. You know, we had a couple of victories in our festival run at Soho and Nyack, and we're actually looking towards our video on demand, our release on the internet February 1st. Through our distribution company, Gravitas. We have our LA premiere coming up in Glendale. And that's going to be on January 28th and 29th. We're going to have a 10 p.m. showing with Q&A after with the cast and crew out here in Los Angeles. We have some of our actors are out here. Pretty much our whole post team is out here. So it'll kind of be like a cast and crew screening, but it's also obviously open to the public. And then we'll be playing at the Lemley for a week. So it's Friday and Saturday night, 10 p.m. and then Sunday through Thursday at 1 p.m. matinees. Obviously, it's a pink elephant in the room. It's a challenging time to be having a screening. So people who are comfortable, great, come, mask up, be vaccinated. If not, don't come. Buy it on iTunes because I don't want anybody to get sick. I don't want that to be on my brain or my conscience. So I think it's really each person is going to show up based on what they're comfortable with or not, and but we're very excited. I'm very excited.
Well, that is exciting because right from the beginning when I saw it, it was like, this has to be out there for everyone to see because the situation isn't getting better. It seems like maybe because of the pandemic and people being so closed off, there seems to be more bullying going around. And I'm hearing about it in the senior community as well. So it's not just, high school kids. So Matthew, what is your part in all this? I'm excited to meet you and find out who you are.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I am happy to be working with Dave and the film. I was referred to the film by a friend. We were referred to each other by a friend. And her name is Annie G, who's also a great publicist. And I'm working with the publicity team on the social media end and getting things together for the premiere. And I'm a film publicist and a product publicist, and I do marketing and social media and production. And I'm always happy to get new work. But when I saw the film, I was excited to sink my teeth in, mainly because it has such a great message. And you can tell the character in the film is so heavily traumatized by his experience as a child or in high school or in middle school. And I had similar experiences to those things. And I was lucky that I had a great family support group, a great friend support group that, helped me to get through some of that stuff. And I wasn't nearly as traumatized as others are. And so whatever I can give back and to a community at large and spread the good word that Dave's trying to say here, I'm happy to do it.
So the message is strong. And as I told Dave, when I first watched it, I was trying to create my own endings. And I think a lot of people do that when they watch something like that. They're hoping for something that fills their own void. Did you find that when you were watching it as well?
I did, and I felt the dreamlike sequences and the demon that is chasing the main character. I felt that to be something I resonated with, only because I as coming out of my 20s, working through a lot of my own personal demons in my 20s. I feel like it really hit home. You were rooting for him, but I also really was triggered by him at the same time. It was a very interesting experience for me to watch the film and go kind of relive my own traumas in a way.
Tell me about well, first of all, Matthew, thank you for being here. You're awesome. I want to address the other pink elephant in the room, which is this. This is the first time, Karen, that I've had this, during our podcast.
Right.
It seems a little bit of a shameless plug, but we're about to go out on VOD and premiere. So if you want to come see the film at the Laemmle, you can go to our wonderful, awesome, budding website, being created by our awesome webmaster, Jay Cruz, TheReunionFilm.com, where you can get tickets to our premiere, and also you can get you can buy the film on iTunes. If you pre-order it now, we'll be ready in about 2 weeks on February 1st. And we have an incentive wherein we need to pre-order a pre-sale 200 sales on iTunes to get onto iTunes' larger platform. So if you want to see the movie, it would be great if you could see it on iTunes. Now, having said all that, I'm curious a few things, Matthew. One is, what triggered you about the movie and the character? I'm so curious. Was it sort of where he went in his journey?
It was kind of just the monkey on the back sort of thing. This unshakable trauma that follows you around. I mean, I'm gay. I'm an openly gay man, and I wasn't, going to a Catholic school. I wasn't. It was something I certainly knew at an early age. Nothing I understood that I could vocalize. Obviously, given my surroundings, and the time was a lot different than it is now. And so moving into my late teens, I felt like this was some crazy demon I couldn't shake, and it made me feel like this horrible person. And knowing that other people knew that about me, because people were clearly either making fun about it or certain things. I didn't have any hair on my arms as a kid, which is going to sound strange, but people would make fun of me about this, and they would say, "Is it because you're gay that you shave your arms?" But in fact, I wasn't shaving my arms. And I think now I have super hairy arms, so I think I made that happen to myself in a weird way. So I think people don't understand how truly, not traumatizing, but how that what you say really does stick with someone for a long time.
Well, we all live with those voices in our head. Okay.
Right.
As I told Dave when I first met him, I felt like I was bullied growing up. It's not until I became an adult and I looked backwards that a lot of the bullying I actually did to myself, because I thought I was hearing people think and say things. And
Right.
so I internalized it, and I thought, well, why don't these people like me? And I actually would go up to these group of girls and say, and start crying. Why don't you like me? Why can't I be part of you? And they would look at me like, where's this coming from? And we had and this is from our elementary school, we had a 20-year elementary school reunion, and I went to it. And I remember sitting around and them looking at me going like, no, you were always part of the group. And that's when I had to think back, what is this about? So some of those things come from our internal self not being comfortable with who we are.
Totally. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, Facebook is such an interesting laboratory for these sorts of things, and Facebook drives me crazy. I don't really like to be on it very often, but it kind of need to with the film. But I've had a few old friends that have reached out, either because I've posted about the movie or we've become Facebook friends or whatever. But I had one guy who was kind of part of the crew that kind of turned on me, which is part of what the movie's based on. And he reached out and he said, "Oh man, my best friend from elementary school." That's how he remembered me. My best friend from elementary school. I was just talking to my mom about all the memories that you and I had, the great times we had. And, another girl who was kind of part of that, group, I had a beautiful, hour-long conversation with, and she had gone through all kinds of stuff in her life that I had no idea about. And, there was only good vibes with she and I. So it's just these stories, that we tell ourselves, or we blow up these stories into mythological proportions.
Right.
How much of it is really real. But going back to you, Matthew, so I'm curious, where did you grow up, and what were the circumstances that you kind of dealt with? You talked a little bit about it, but what was the background for your childhood?
I have to say I had a pretty great childhood. My family's pretty amazing. Not without its faults and its problems, but pretty amazing. Single mother who did anything and everything for us, put us through Catholic school, and tried to give us the best leg up that she could. Great grandparents. Love my brother. None of the anxiety or weirdness I felt about myself came from my family. I think there was obviously this unspoken don't ask, don't tell situation as far as being Catholic, but there was no feeling of animosity or anything like that for my family. It was more the boys in school that definitely picked up on the fact that I wasn't a normal or typical boy. And so growing up in Glendale and in Los Angeles, in general, is super awesome, exposed to so much. So really, I have no complaints. I have no complaints about my life. I'm a happy person. I'm very lucky to be working in an industry that a lot of people would die to work in, right? So I can't sit here and complain, but I do remember a lot of times feeling, like the odd man out, or noticing that everyone had a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they were corresponding to their appropriate sexes, and I wanted a boyfriend, and that couldn't happen. And so I think that those were the only weird things that I feel really kind of affected me as I was getting older. But certainly easier here because I found acceptance so readily available from people that really did love me. But I also realized watching the film that being bullied kind of made me quick on my feet. Made me able to respond and adapt, code switch, if you will, to different experiences, different people, different work, different styles. And so I'm sort of in a weird way thankful for the bullies. They made me stronger, they made me more resilient, they gave me grit. And so I always try and look at that as as a positive, or try and flip it on its head, change the paradigm. But when you did say, and it's funny because now that I'm getting older, maybe my memories are a little too misty and watercolored. So maybe they're wrong. I mean, maybe I don't remember them as clearly, but yeah, that's my background is really super easy. I have no complaints.
So what is your role really in the film? I know you're not in the film. What are you doing to help the film?
Well, right now I'm trying to help Dave get as much awareness about the film as possible. Beatrice, our publicist on the East Coast, is doing the heavy lifting of getting us into some trade publications, and I want to do the other side of that, the parallel side of that, which is getting us in front of appropriate, not only just film centric publications, online publications, but having us exposed to mental health and anti-bullying organizations that can take the film to a different level and take it to a different audience. I think any publicist, any marketing person, any branding person will tell you that once you buy into the brand, once as I've really bought into the movie, and of course Dave, I like Dave. I like his style. I love that Dave is a teacher. So I wanted to it's a form of giving back, especially indie film, because we're, to be realistic, the indie films I work on aren't, none of us are making millions of dollars. We're not winning Oscars. That's always the dream, right? It's always the hope. And when you're famous, you do get to have the privilege of having that voice. But just because we're not superstars and Kim Kardashian famous doesn't mean we don't have a great responsibility to tell good stories and have them enact change. And so that's my real goal here, is to help Dave market the film as best it can. We do want to get a really good streaming option with the distribution company. That all of the technical stuff, the professional stuff, that's all obvious. But on the back end of that, I really want people to enjoy the message and hopefully reach some people out there that are going through a tough time themselves. I just broke up with my partner of 10 years. So when I saw the film, it felt like, okay, people stumble. It's hard. Life is kind of shitty sometimes, excuse my French, but you do get through, and you have people around you that help you get through. And so that's why I'm really excited to work with Dave, take a bite out of this.
And I heard you say something about, this may not be award-winning, Emmy-winning, things like that. The reality of it is even those award-winning Emmy films, I mean, they're right on top for a while, and then we do forget about them. I think
Right.
when the message is what Dave and the whole team put together in the way that you are going to express it out there, this is more award-winning because people are going to benefit from it. And I think that's important. I think we all have to. Now, I have a brother in the music industry, and you go to his house and you'll see his Grammys sitting over in this on this table, sort of like dusty. And I'll say to him, "Oh, I didn't know you got that one." He'll go, "Yeah, that was a long time ago. It doesn't mean anything, you know." And I'll
Right.
go and I'll look at him. I'll go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "No, the work I do daily is what means something."
That's the
And
reward.
and you know, I realize that's why I do what I do. You know, I don't have millions of followers, and that's okay, because if I can help one person, hey, you know, I can sleep really good at night. So I'm really proud of what you guys are all doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in quantifying our, ourselves and trying to get validation hits. I get caught up in it. How many people bought tickets and how many people bought the iTunes and how many likes and followers do we have and all that stuff. But that's a part of the brain that just goes off. And, when I can just sit and grade my kid's short story with all of its, grammatical errors is when I actually feel pretty good. Just wanted to piggyback on a few things that you said, Matthew. You did talk about the demon, though, sort of relating to the demon. So where are you at with that? How much of the demon is still present? Has the demon gone away? And if so, how? Like, what's your experience been with that demon? Where's it at?
I feel it's a good question. I think every now and again, I will stumble on some self-esteem stuff or maybe self-image things. I've gained a little bit of weight. I'm not as young as I used to, and I'm getting, you can't see them here, but these gray hairs here, and I'm like, what the hell? And so I think I stumble with the vanity of things and kind of really trying to keep my eye on the prize. But I really feel like they're working through with, again, a great support group, a great family group, getting into therapy, having a therapist to help me work through a lot of these issues. I feel coming on the other side of it, I feel great. The demon's there, but I don't think they ever go away. You know what I mean? At least now the relationship with the demon is different. I can see him, I acknowledge him. I don't give him the power any longer. There are days where I see him and I kind of roll, like I said, roll back, but for the most part, I've learned to change the relationship with the demon. And I hope that people watching or listening, I hope, especially with the film, and I think that's the journey that you go through, right? In the film, you're able to change the relationship with the demon. And so I think that's probably what I resonated most with, is my journey through, knowing myself better, understanding the traumas of my past, also understanding that some things I'm not responsible for. The genetics of your life play a large part of, how things are. And so, yeah, I think that's how I've been able to kind of deal with it, is, again, changing the relationship with, the demon. It's never going to go away, but I learned to deal with it better.
Can I just say, you seem like a very level-headed, sane individual in a very crazy business. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's taken a while to learn. It's taken a while in this business. I was probably way more fiery and quick at the tongue and quick to tell like producers, "Oh, go fuck off," right? But now I just kind of feel like everyone's facing the same battle. We're all trying to get either our art out there or work hard and make the money and live in LA. And it's such a dreamscape in and of itself. You have to kind of learn how to separate the Hollywood that you're taught is Hollywood and working in actual Hollywood. And once you can get past that and break down those barriers for yourself, I think it's easy to get things done. And then honestly, I don't know what happens, but when they tell you turn 30 and things are a little bit different, it's totally true. Like, I feel like I don't take things as personally anymore. I just kind of learned how to roll the punches. Of course, I'm not auditioning for things. You might see this a little different, Dave, because, I don't face nearly as much rejection. So I might be saying things a little differently had that been the case. But yeah, it's taken a while to kind of not take things so personally.
Yeah.
And that's not very easy in this society, because people around us have a tendency to judge us before they even know us, and make assumptions. You know, you
Totally.
two are out in LA, you're movie makers, you're, you're publicists. And for somebody here in Ohio, it'd be like, oh, I'm awestruck. That's one of the things that I learned a long time ago, visiting my brother out in LA. He was starting to really make it in the music industry, and he took me out to lunch, and he said, you are going to see superstars all around you. They're just people. Just sit there, eat your lunch.
Yeah.
And of course, I was there with my husband, and we were just sitting there eating lunch. And as we walked out, my brother says to my husband, you didn't recognize who was sitting at the next table? And we said no. And my brother said, that was Carol Alt. She's a famous model. Didn't you see how gorgeous she was? He said, well, I noticed, but you told me not to say a word.
Not to notice.
And he said, well, you passed the test, but he said, I was really worried about you. And I said to him, but you're sort of famous and you're just a person. And he goes, yeah, you got it. But when you live in the Midwest, that's not what we think of. We think Hollywood is all this glitz and glamour, and you all drive Rolls Royces, right?
I drive a car that is too expensive. So I will say I fell into that trap 100%. And I will admit that if I saw Barbra Streisand, I would fangirl out just like any good gay would. But, you learn to keep it in check. After working so many red carpets and so many things, but I would die over if I met Barbra. That's my go-to. That's my be all end all. So if I saw Barbra, I'd be blackballed from the publicity community 100%.
Have you seen Licorice Pizza?
I haven't seen it yet. Okay. No.
Well, I just I don't know if you've seen. I keep seeing that ad where he says your girlfriend's Barbra Streisand. He goes, no, Barbra Streisand. That's very funny.
Yeah. Sand like the beach, not Zand like Liza.
Love it. So you got your work cut out for you, right?
I think Dave and I, we do, but I think we have a good strategy. And with Beatrice helping us on the East Coast, I think we can, leading up to the LA premiere and then leading the pre-sales, it's like Dave said, there's, we're hyper-focused on numbers right now, but there's still a lot of time after those things. So there's, never enough time really, but there's always tons of time. So that's what we're focused on. We're trying to get the numbers up, but we're still going to get the word out. Even after the premiere, there's still lots of work to do. So yeah, we do. We're going to take bites out of it, but I think we'll make it happen.
So 200 tickets need to be sold in order for what, Dave?
We need 200 pre-sales on iTunes.
Okay.
In order to get onto iTunes' larger platform, as I understand it.
Okay.
I think at last check we had like 14. This is about a week ago. So I know a number of people have bought since then. So we're trending upward. So we'll see. And like Matt said, we do what we can. We put it, whatever we have into it. We have a strategy. We're putting it out there in many different levels. We have postcards. We got this great new poster. We got a great website. We're on social media. We're getting in touch with our cast and crew, our friends and family. We're going to be in Film Threat tomorrow. We have a article, I believe, coming out there, an ad coming out there. We're doing podcasts. So at the end of the day, that's all that I can ask for of myself and the people I work with is let's do the best I can. At the end of the day, if we don't make the numbers, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like the NFL playoffs is happening right now. This is going somewhere. Wait for it. And Jerry Jones, who's been around forever, he's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the best sports, supposed to be the best sports franchise, America's whatever it's called. And they haven't won like a playoff game or Super Bowl in decades. And he said something yesterday, or I heard that he said, it's Super Bowl or bust. And I thought to myself, what a bad strategy that is. You know what I mean? I mean, you take these players who are working their asses off every day to improve, and it doesn't matter if you improve, if you don't win the Super Bowl. And I just think that mindset not only puts pressure on the players, but it doesn't allow for any growth. It doesn't allow for any anything, other than winning a Super Bowl. And so I have that mechanism too. You know what I mean? I'm not bashing Jerry Jones,
No,
I
of
have
course
a
not.
mechanism within my own brain that says you have to do this, and it's very tempting. It's the demon, but to go, okay, let's just slow down, calm down, and do what we can, be patient and accept what is. Look, we might not
Right.
sell out the Lemley at Glendale, but we might have a nice audience at 25 who's going to enjoy it. And truth of the matter is, either way, it's not going to bring joy and fulfillment to my life. So.
Right. My mom always, to take like an education term from her, or like an education saying or belief, you don't teach to the grade, you teach so that the student learns. And
Yes.
that's, I think, what we're going for here, right? We certainly, the goal is the A, the 100%. And if you can get there, great. But if you get a C, there's room to improve. We can get on top of that, right? And so I agree with what you're saying 100%. It's definitely not Oscar or bust, right? There's a lot to be done, but
I hope not.
yeah.
Well, what I would love to see is just about every teacher see this film, because one of the things, Dave, that you've taught me is that because of your experience, you are more sensitive in the classroom to stop a lot of this behavior. And as I told you, my son was bullied pretty badly in junior high and high school, and kept a lot of it to himself. And luckily, therapy is helping tremendously. In fact, Matthew, I met Dave just at the time that my son revealed some post-traumatic stress information. And we have since learned of so many other kids at that school who went through very similar situations. And the school today is still acting like not us. We're one of the better school systems. We know everything that's going on. I don't blame teachers personally, because I think a lot of them are definitely overworked, have huge classrooms. They can't see everything that's going on. But
Right.
when you can be aware that this is a huge problem in our society, I think, just seeing the film makes you say, okay, let me look around. And that's one of the things that I do now. When I'm at work, I see other kids, I see kids being bullied. And, I try to have conversations with them, is what's really going on? What's causing all this? And, sometimes we can stop it and sometimes we can't. And sometimes you got to report it. So I
Right.
just want to thank you both for everything you're doing.
Thanks. I mean, we have campaigns out there, see something, say something, for almost everything else, right?
Right.
And you don't really hear too much about that. I mean, now, of course, you do, and we know the long-term effects of being bullied, and we know that bullies are also suffering from their own trauma. And I heard something, I don't know who said it, but I heard something recently that said we can build healthy adults, we can't fix unhealthy adults, or it's hard to fix unhealthy adults. And so if again, if we can reach as many people as possible, but especially, and Dave and I have talked about the EDU angle on on several levels. If we can reach teachers and help them see something and say something and be better at an approach, or whatever, I think that's just a cherry on top.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to all the excitement that's on its way. How do I buy into this iTunes?
Well, I'm going to pass it on to Matthew for that, but I don't want to go this whole podcast without saying what the movie is about, because I think we maybe assume that people know.
Sure.
So if you're new and you haven't seen the Bully Blog, The Reunion is about a story about a guy confronting his childhood nemesis at their high school reunion. So there's flashbacks to what had happened in the past, and there's a guy who runs into, played by me, who runs into his childhood nemesis and sort of goes on this journey, this sort of rite of passage to sort of better understand himself ultimately. And that's what the film is about. But in terms of getting the word out, I'm gonna pass it on to Matthew.
Yeah, I'll take it away, Dave. The link on Dave's thought bubble is an easy way to find all of our socials, and an easy way to find not only the Lemley link, but the link to the pre-order as well. So if you're watching, that's the link, www.TheReunionFilm.com. If you're just listening, I strongly recommend it, not just because I like Dave and you know, he's my boss, but I love the film. I again believe in the message, and I think that it needs to be out there. So again, www.TheReunionFilm.com or any of our socials that can be found there. Pre-order. See you at the Lemley Glendale. Anything else, Dave?
Share with your friends.
Share,
Yes.
repost, tag, comment, hashtag us, all the good stuff.
That sounds wonderful. Will Beatrice be coming out?
I don't think for this one. She has a newborn.
Yeah.
She was at a festival in New York. She was at our first festival that we had in New York, our kind of New York premiere. So no, but we'll be in touch with her, and she'll be, you know, everybody's working remotely. But she's wonderful. And I just want to say, Matthew, thank you so much for coming on. I got to know you a little bit better, and
Thank you for having me.
Great job. And we really didn't know what we're going to ask, what we're going to talk about. So, you know, I think it turned out to be a real good one, and, you know, good to get.
It was a good little round table. And to piggyback on the red carpet stuff and the premiere stuff, we're going to do some live events, some live feeds to socials, and any coverage that we have will be posted to the YouTube channel. So watch our socials for upcoming news and updates.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I want to thank you both for being with us this month, and, you know, keep those demons, you know, calm. And that isn't the demon behind your back, right, Matthew?
Yeah, no. Is my wine bottle there? Oh no, you mean the Bobcat. Okay.
Bobcat.
Yeah,
Just
no.
Mine is, though, myself. That's the demon.
Yourself,
behind my
you're
back.
there.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have a great evening, and we will be in touch soon. Take care,
Thanks, Karen.
everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
See you later. Bye, Matt.